You're up.
Steve-O,
Mitch,
how are you,
how are
mate?
you, mate? I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Got a question for you. Today's podcast.
Yep, hit me.
Top three Knights players of all time, and we're gonna give it each going to give an honourable mention.
All right. That's do you know what? I'm gonna how about we do it this way? We do the honourable mentions first, and we go 3 and 3. So both our thirds, both our seconds, and both our firsts.
Right.
This is a little bit tough for me because obviously I'm not a Newcastle Knights fan. I'm a diehard Cronulla Sharks fan. We actually played the Knights this weekend, funny enough.
Yeah, that's right.
Sunday Arvo. So that'll be good. So I'm looking forward to that one.
I've only just started following the Knights since I moved up here, sort of properly, probably like 3 or 4 years ago. But I moved up here 6 or 7 years ago. But yeah, a lot of these all of the players I have before that time. But I still used to watch it, but I just wasn't supporting the Knights really at the time.
So I've been an avid football fan since I was about maybe seven or 8. I've been like right into the NRL, and I can actually say the first rugby league hat I ever got was a Newcastle Knights hat. Funny that. Yep. Newcastle Knights hat was, and I think it was at that time where they won the comp as well, back in '97. And I just really wanted like to get a Newcastle Knights hat at that point because when you're young and you're just like, you just go for the best team at that point in time.
Yeah, but you would have been living in Sydney then.
Yeah, I was living in Sydney at that point in time, and it was pretty big down there because the Sea Eagles were against them. And they got beat. And then from there, I was in that little period, I was like, I'm a Knights fan. But that didn't last too long at all. But yeah, I've kept a pretty big interest in the Knights since that time as well. So I think my honourable mentions and my top 3 are pretty decent.
Who have you got for your honourable mention?
Okay, so I've got to say this first. I've got to get this off the bat, right? So I want to say Chief, right? I want to say Paul Harrigan, but I feel like he retired before I really got a chance to truly appreciate the Chief, if you get me. So Chief's not in my top 3. Chief's not even my honourable mention. My honourable mention is someone that some people might not even remember, right? So my honourable mention is Newcastle Knights winger, and his name was Justin Ryder. Do you know who Justin Ryder is?
Not a clue.
Right, so I was a big Footy Show fan as well, and he was a little scruffy bloke. He was a little scruffy-looking bloke with long, blonde, scruffy hair, little scrawny little fella on the wing for the Knights, and he used to come on the Footy Show, and he had a really cheeky personality. They called him the Knight Rider. And then from there, he had a bit of a cult following for that little point in time. Justin Ryder on the wing for the Knights, number 5 or number 2, whatever he was. But he's my honourable mention. Justin, the Knight Rider.
So was he actually a pretty good player? Obviously, he was just.
He was all right. Like I can't quite remember how many games he played. It wouldn't have been many. It would have been maybe like 20 to 30. I can look it up here before we.
Yeah, hold on. I've got a list. I've got the list in front of me, actually, because I was going through a list. When was he playing?
No, there he is. He played 27 first-grade games. Justin Ryder. From 2000 to 2002.
Yeah, there we go. Got him right there.
Scored 9 tries. That's a try in every 3 games. Go the Knight Rider.
Try scoring machine.
Absolute whiz.
Well, for my honourable mention, I wasn't really sure what sort of what you were going to go with, if it was actually going to be someone good that just didn't quite make the top 3, or if it was going to just be someone like a bit of a laugh, like what you've done. So I've got one of each.
Like the Knight Rider.
Like the Knight Rider. So my first one, which is a bit of a laugh, and this is for different reasons, because until about 10 minutes ago when I was doing a bit of a search, and you might know this, but I didn't, and it's Michael Ennis. He actually had a season up to the Knights.
I forget. Wow. Yeah. Holy
Michael Ennis. So he was...
I forgot that.
Where are we? He played...
That's so funny. Now I remember because I think he debuted for Newcastle.
I can't find it right now, but it was just one season. I think I just saw it was like 20 games. And then I don't know if he went straight to Canterbury after that or what his go was, but he ended up having obviously a great career, but did a quick stint in the Knights. And
it's funny I forget that because he won a comp. He won a comp with the Sharks. Now he's a Sharks legend. Now and I forgot he played for Newcastle. Yeah. There you go.
So that was like my bit of a laugh one, but then someone who I actually had that was very close to my top three but didn't quite make it was Kurt Gidley.
Yeah, he's Mr. Versatile.
Yeah.
Mr. Versatile, Kurt Gidley.
I was deliberating if he was going to make the top three or not, but he just missed out. But he was a pretty rock solid player there in the back line.
And another thing is this, I don't know how long he's been retired. He's been retired probably a couple of years, whatever, but I'm pretty confident he could get a start now for the Knights. He would still be really fit, and I think it was last year he might have played the Nines. He was unbelievable then too. So yeah, Mr. Versatile, he was sensational.
I remember hearing a story that, and I don't know how true it is, but for the point of this story, it is he actually finished the beep test. So the beep test has like 21 levels.
Yeah.
And to put it into perspective, I'm pretty sure when I did it last year, I got like 13 or 14.
Yeah.
Which obviously by the end of it, I was pretty stuffed, and he went another 7 or 8 levels.
Well, for a long time, he was widely regarded as the fittest man in the NRL.
Yeah, I believe it after.
And could play any position. He was a freak.
Yeah, he played a bit of everything in the back line. Centre, fullback,
wherever. Chuck him wherever. He was unbelievable. He even played hooker.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, good player, but didn't quite make my top three. So, what's your?
I'm excited.
Who's your number three?
All right, mate. So my number three.
We might have a bit of carryover here because obviously there's only so many great players that play for the Knights. But if you pick someone who I picked, I won't say it.
No, that's all right. If you can just like give him a little bit of a shout out, and then you can do your thing. But my number three, I'm going pure nostalgia, and it has to be Darren Albert, number three for me. So he's my number three.
Big DA.
Yeah, because I go back to 1997. Obviously, scored that try to win them the grand final. And then as a young bloke, at that point in time, Darren Albert was like regarded as one of the fastest players in the NRL. And when you're a kid, you want to be really, really fast. So from there, I was always like, oh, Darren Albert. Like I want to be like Darren Albert. You know what I mean? And another little bit of, got a bit of soft spot for him. He actually played one season with the Sharks as well. And it was in 2006, I'm pretty sure. Played one season with the Sharks, but an absolute flyer and somebody that I really wanted to be when I was about 8 years old was Darren Albert. So he's my number three.
Yeah, when you're a kid, I mean, it doesn't really matter how strong you are. It does to an extent, but you just want to be the fastest.
The fastest
kid. Fastest kid in school was probably arguably the coolest kid in school.
Yeah. And that's exactly why.
Quick.
That's exactly why Darren Albert was one of my favourite Knights ever, and probably one of the most nostalgic footballers that come in my head is Darren Albert.
Well, he did. I mean, obviously it got set up for him, but he did win the grand final for him.
Yeah.
So that was something that was, Knights fans are always going to remember him and remember that. So very very hard to argue with that. But he didn't make my top three. Old Dazza.
That's good. I'm glad. I'm glad he didn't. Who's your number three, mate? Hit me.
Hold on. I'm just getting it up just so I can get all these.
Yeah, you want to get rid of all that Justin Ryder information.
Justin Ryder. Yeah, everyone already knows all his stuff. So
Justin, if you're listening, big shout out, Justin the Night Rider.
So my third place is Danny Medeiros.
Of course.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at his profile. He was actually from Taree boy. So he's not too far away.
Uh-huh.
And by the time it was all said and done, 220 games. And he went on to play 21 games for the Blues and 24 games for Australia.
And honestly, he's one of the all-time greats.
He is. I mean, he's definitely in the conversation of the best hookers of all time. Like
I agree.
He's right there, and just to be able to do it that good for that long, plenty of Australian caps, plenty of Blues caps, 220 games, and he played. We got 12 seasons, I think, 11 seasons. And then he actually went to England for a couple of years and then came back to the Knights. So, so he actually played 257 games because I didn't include the next 37 that he played when he came back. So pretty, he would have been, he was more heart and soul of the team, I think.
Absolutely,
around that time.
Yeah,
hooker,
for sure.
Ball dominant player, was a playmaker, could do a bit of everything. And in hooker, he'd very rarely would come off for a rest. He'd tackle all game. He'd dart out dummy half. He'd kick. He'd pass. He'd do it all. So cemented his spot for me, number 3.
He was one of my. He's not in my top 3, Danny Medeiros, because I've just gone for 2 others. But like at the point in time, I remember when Danny Medeiros was playing for Australia and just killing it and being the best hooker in the game. And then Cam Smith came along, and I remember I was just absolutely filthy that Danny Medeiros was regarded as the second best hooker in the game at that point in time. And he was, Danny Medeiros was like, obviously people talk about, like they always talk about Chief and they always talk about Joey and they always talk about, those two are probably like Newcastle, but geez, Danny Medeiros screams Newcastle to me as well.
Yeah. Who was your number 2?
All right. My number 2 is, it's a little bit of nostalgia as well, but an absolute weapon of a footballer. Bill Peden. No. No, my number 2 is Tamana Tahu.
Big Tamana.
Yeah, I've gone Tamana. So obviously at that point in time, he started, I just looked him up. So he made his debut for the Knights in 1999. Okay, so obviously I was 9 years old. And at that point in time, he was a try-scoring machine. He scored 82 tries in 97 games for the Knights. So as a kid, I was just like, wow, look at this guy. He was scoring doubles, triples, left, right, and centre. And another thing was, at that point in time, the post-try celebration was
slam dunk.
Something, and he used to dunk it when he'd score under the post. But he was unbelievable. He was fast. He had a great palm. He was aggressive. He could defend. He could do it all. And obviously, he played a few games for Parramatta as well, but he came back and had another stint for the Knights back in 2012 and played 29 first-grade games for him over 3 years. But he played 12 Origins, played for Australia, played for the New South Wales country. He just did it all. He was an absolute freak, Tamana.
I remember his post-try celebration. I remember trying that when I used to play in the mini league or the mod league post. Even then I couldn't get close, but he was actually my consideration for honourable mention because and I still, I don't know if you've seen it in Adamstown. There's actually like a big billboard with him on it about concussion, I think it is. Yeah, with the Newcastle University. Yeah, so whenever I see that, I always think of him. And also our fantastic member Nelly, she actually has got a bit to do with him. She, because I think he's Aboriginal. So he's got a bit to do with the Aboriginal, the young community, and Nelly does as well. And she says he's a really nice guy and does a lot for them, which is really cool. But
go to Mana.
Cool player. Interesting to see him as high as number 2. He didn't make my list. I've gone for nostalgia and the fact that he was a weapon. He played for New South Wales Waratahs as well in the rugby. Yeah, that's right. I think I'm not sure, but is he a dual international? I don't think so. I don't think he played for Australia. Hold the phone. Did he? He played 4 tests for the Wallabies. Did he? Dual international, Tamana Tahu. There you go. Might be one of the best rugby players of all time too then. He could play. He was very, very good. My number 2 has already been mentioned at one point, but it's Chief. Big Chief Harrigan. You had to go the Chief, yeah? I agree. I didn't have the same criteria that you had. So when you said, he's before our time, I can see that. I think he was 88 to 98 was his playing stint. But like you actually mentioned before, you think Newcastle, and still to this day, you think Newcastle. and above anyone else, you think Chief.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, even with him being local, and he's got a lot to do with NIB, so you see him plastered all over that and in ads, and whenever you go to Old Boys Day, he's always there. And just think of like a really good, hard playing forward. He captained the grand final winning team. He just going through a few of his stats. Played for New South Wales 20 times. Played for Australia 20 times, 169 games. Captain, and it was I just couldn't leave him off. I couldn't leave him off the list. Like captain of the first time that they won and everything.
Yeah,
I
get it.
I couldn't get through and not have Big Chief in there.
I get it. I just it wouldn't feel right for me to pick Chief over Tamana and Big DA, Darren Albert, just because of the nostalgic side of things. But I completely get it, because when I think of the Newcastle Knights, he's the first person I think of is the Chief. I think of Paul Harrigan, and the fact another thing that really intrigues me about Chief is, so you will probably all know if you're listening that I'm a big UFC fan. Jamie and I watch it pay-per-views, and one of the things that, and Jamie knows this, one of the things that really makes me like a fighter is if someone's a really nice guy off, like away from the fights, and when he comes into the fights, he just turns into an absolute savage. And Chief's exactly like that. Chief's like the nicest bloke off the field, but on the field, he just turned into an absolute killer.
Yeah, great bloke. There's some people who just know that they're great blokes, and I'd be very, very surprised if I found out that he was nothing short of a legend.
Imagine if he just turned out to be the biggest dickhead ever. I'd be shocked.
Oh, he'd be off my list. That's for sure.
I'd be shocked. Now,
I'll tell you what, would be dirty.
Speaking of shocked, I'll be very, very shocked if we don't have the same number one.
Well, if your number one's the same as mine, I'll say it straight away, and then we can talk about it together.
I just couldn't do it. I couldn't pick anyone else. I couldn't pick anyone else. My number one favourite Knights player is
Jared Nolan.
Hate them all. Yeah. No. Mark Granville. No. No, it's clearly the eighth immortal, Andrew Joey Johns.
Yeah, 100%.
I can't not put him number one. I just can't do it.
It was, anyone who says otherwise has got something against Joey for personal reasons. You can't say anyone else.
Like when I can still remember when I was a young bloke. So I was a little chubby kid, and I remember like I always was very annoyed because I used to play as the front rower, so I always used to have number 8 on my back, but I always had aspirations to be a halfback and have number 7 on my back because of Joey. So, and then growing up, like he was obviously like around that 1998, 1999, 2000, like until he retired, he was the best player in the game by a mile.
Yeah. Because he was like, I was a bit of a chubby kid as well. But for him just to be like not this gigantic, like massive guy and still be able to like take over and dominate games, kicking, passing, running, like there was nothing better. And just the way in like really important times in games, he would turn it on the last 10 minutes, set up tries, score tries, make, game winning plays. There was no one better.
Mate,
still will go down as one of the best, if not the best.
Mate, I can't agree more with anything that you've just said, right? And I've got to say it, okay? I really have to say this. There is no rugby league debate that annoys me more than who's better between Andrew Johns and Jonathan Thurston. It drives me insane because I just think it's Joey by an absolute landslide. And the thing that, like, the most people that say Jonathan Thurston is better than Joey or someone like a Cam Smith. Now, Cam Smith, I can sort of, it's close, right? But everyone talks about longevity and they say, JT played 330-odd games or whatever he played and played X amount of state of origins and all this sort of stuff. But Joey revolutionised the halfback position and rugby league in general. And if you look at it, he only played for the Knights 249 first grade games, Now look at the impact he made on rugby league as a whole after 249 first grade games.
Mm.
That's
especially when like Cam Smith played 400.
Yeah.
So that's like 6 more seasons or something.
Yeah, I understand. It's a bit harder because Cam Smith and Joey are different positions, so they're going to be doing different things. But yeah, that's why the Joey versus JT debate really drives me insane. And when it pops up on Facebook, the NRL will do it, and they'll say Joey and JT, and JT always gets the vote, and it's always like it's bad because most of the people on Facebook probably didn't see Joey in his prime, so they're clicking JT, and it'd be the same. It'd be the same thing if it was Joey versus Wally Lewis. Well, yeah. I can't really argue because I didn't really see Wally Lewis in his prime, whereas people in their prime, like my dad used to say to me, Wally Lewis, greatest ever.
The king.
Yep.
And the interesting thing about Joey and Thurston is because they are so similar with how they play, I think. Like they're very similar size, like they're gritty, they kick goals, like they've got good kicking game, good step. And I guess that opens it up for debate. But
that is something that doesn't get talked about enough is just how tenacious Joey was.
Yeah, gritty as.
Oh, he just wanted to win at all costs.
He
didn't care. But yeah,
person mentality.
I would have before this podcast, I was thinking that surely there's no way that Mitch doesn't go Joey one.
It would be
surely.
What other any other names that you thought of when you were thinking about honourable mentions or people that you might include?
So obviously Matty Johns.
Yeah, I thought of him.
I thought of him, but I tell you someone who, again, it's nostalgia there as well. But one of the most skillful players was Owen Craigie.
Owen
was unbelievable. The Johns brothers, both of them, especially Joey, say that Owen Craigie is the most skillful rugby league player they've ever played with. Seriously, apparently his skill was unbelievably next level.
Had a real bad gambling problem, apparently.
Yeah. Another bloke there was another bloke that came into my head as well, where just really last minute. No, he was part of the 2001 grand final winning team, played a few Origins. Steve Simpson. Steve Simpson, just absolutely
hard as
one
nails.
Of those blokes. Yeah, just no frills, not too flashy, but just got in and just got it done. Steve Simpson.
The only other one for me probably was Mad Dog, Adam McDougall.
Oh, of course. What about Robbie O?
Yeah, he did come across my mind too.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like the Knights have had some great players over the.
And the Mad Dog, I still see him on the man shake and stuff, so it always reminds me of him. And Robbie O, because he used to have his Robbie O boot camp. A few people train used to go to him, so I always kind of keep them in the back of my memory. But it's a lot of good players to pick from. And I purposely didn't pick anyone current because their career's not over yet. But by the time it's all said and done, I mean, Kalen Ponga might be there. Piercy won't be there because he played most of his career elsewhere. But
I
don't really have as many great players as we used to.
Tex Hoy will be number one after 10 years.
Could be. Never know.
Go Tex. But the Knights have had some fantastic players. Hopefully, maybe next week when we do the pods, might do all Cronulla based things.
We can do a recap of the Knights Sharks game.
That's not going to end well for me.
We won't do a recap of the we're not all Sharks because no one will listen to Sharks talk.
No one's going to listen to that.
You and Kate Riley and Megan Fryer.
That's it, mate. We're the only ones.
No one else.
But yeah, no.
Righto. Well, let us know in the comments if you agree, disagree, did we leave anyone out, any names we forgot. We'd love to hear from you guys regarding this. And I really hope actually Nelly listens to this. Might send it to her personally because I'd love to hear her take because she has been a member since they came into the league, 1988. So she's seen a lot of footy. So I'd love to hear who she would think be the top 3 of all time.
If anybody wants to debate that Jonathan Thurston is better than Andrew Johns, you can take it up with me.
Thanks for listening, guys. See you on the next one.
Thanks, gang.